Hello everybody. This is a continuation of my last video where I tried to buy a 360 acre farm and it fell through, and this is what I've done after that. After that I decided to stay farming there with my dad. As I had said in previous videos, his dairy wasn't but 80 acres and we were running around 200 head of cows. So what that meant is we had to lease land as far as 5 miles away. We'd grow crops and cut it and bring it to our cows. That's the only way we could feed our cows, because you can't feed 200 head of cows on 80 acres. So we would lease land, a field here and a field there, and grow different crops on it, hay and silage and stuff, and we'd cut that and bring it home and feed it to our cows. Now y'all need to bear with me, because I'm trying to take a around 20-year story here and condense it down into a few minutes. And that's kind of hard to do, because this story involved most of my life. I was raised on that farm, went away for a while, came back, started my own herd, dairied with my dad there, and me and my dad had a good working relationship. You wouldn't know it if you seen us out working, because it's like we knew one another so well, we didn't ever have to even hardly speak. We knew what one another was doing, what we needed to do, and it was kind of like our brains were in tune. We would just go about our day working, hardly ever even speaking very much, because we just knew what one another was doing. I reckon. I don't know how to explain it. We were just in tuned together. But this went on for almost 20 years. But as time went on, things changed. I was married and had kids, raising kids and trying to farm, getting up at 3 in the morning, coming in at 11 o'clock at night. My kids actually asked their mom one time, had I moved out. They thought I'd done left and moved out, because they never saw me. They was always in bed when I got home, and I left out in the morning before they got up. So this is a hard story to tell, because it's just so much involved. But if y'all bear with me, I'm going to do my best to tell it. And I've already made several different cuts here, so you might see the video jumping back and forth, because I'll start telling part of the story and I think I'm through, and think of something else I need to say. But y'all bear with me. I'll get through it. Thank you. We won many awards. I remember my mom and dad's old house. We had a wall in our den that was probably almost 25 feet long down to one side of the wall there, and it was just solid plaques. Well, we'd won this award and that award and this award, quality milk awards mostly. Me personally, I won the highest production increase, a few things like that. And I always got a kick out of my dad. There's one particular award we would win every year, but it came with a check. He would tell him he ain't worried about that piece of wood to hang on the wall, he wanted the check. Yeah, he wasn't worried about that piece of wood to hang on the wall, he wanted him some money. But every year they'd have a dairy day, is what they called it. It would be in, I think, June, and a certain farm would host it, and all the dairy farmers in the state would come and eat and listen to speakers, and they would hand out awards. That's when we'd get the different awards. But those were some good times, good people. And it went on and on and on. And all through my dairy career, you'd always hear people, the higher ups, I don't know how you'd put them, the people in charge of things would tell you, oh, we got these low milk prices because of those people in the north. All them people up there in Wisconsin just shipping, making so much milk, we can't compete. Well, in the middle of the late 90s, things started getting bad. The price of milk was going down and the price of feed was going up. And a lot of dairy farmers are going out of business. And I was trying to do my best to stay in. And I made up my mind. I read an article from a man from New York talking about the same thing. I contacted him and he told me what he was doing in New York. He was forming an association for dairy farmers. He said it wouldn't work unless we got the dairy farmers all across America to work together, and I agreed with him. And it was a simple plan. You have enough dairy farmers holding together and say, instead of you telling me what I'm gonna get paid for milk, we're gonna tell you what we're gonna get paid for our milk. You want our milk, this is what you're gonna pay for it. That was a simple plan. So I got together, you know, I'm in my 30s. You know, people think I'm just nobody, you know. So I made up some homemade pamphlets and I started going to different little dairy get-togethers and I'd hand out pamphlets. And within a month, I had 95% of the dairy farmers in Louisiana joined. And we held a meeting and I'd tell them what the plan was and this and that and the other. And it was going good. Well, next thing I know, I get a phone call from some dairy farmers in Mississippi. They said, we heard what you doing down there and we was wondering if we can get you to come up here and speak to some farmers up there. I said, yeah, I can do that. So I went up there and I don't know, there's a dozen or so farmers there and we just wasn't nothing, how do you put it, fancy about it. We just sat around like a cafe and shot the bull and I told them what I was trying to do and they decided, you know, they wanted to do the same thing. They was going to form well, the name of my association was the Louisiana Milk Producers Association. They were going to form a Mississippi Milk Producers Association. And I said, good, the more people, the better. And get everybody working together, maybe we can get something done. You know, it went on there a little while longer. Somebody called me from Texas. Told me they heard what I was doing. Wanted to know if I could come to Texas and speak to them. I said, yeah, sure. And I was assuming it was going to be the same thing. But when I got there, and I'd only spoke to these people on the phone before, and they didn't know what I looked like or anything. When I got there, I walked in and told them my name was Butch Busby. Like, wow, we figured you'd be older than you are. I said, this is who I am, you know. And they said, well, we got some farmers inside here we'd like you to speak to. So I walked in there, there was 1,400 people in this room. Like, holy cow, I'm not a speaker, I'm not a politician, I'm just a dairy farmer. You know, I ain't never spoken in front of a bunch of people like that up on a podium, you know, in front of everybody. So I got up there and basically told them from the heart, hey, this is who I am. I'm not a politician. I'm not running for any kind of office. I'm just trying to organize the dairy farmers to get together, to work together, so we can get a better price for our milk. And, you know, I was kind of, didn't know what to think about standing in front of that many people to begin with. But when I got through giving my little speech, and you know, it was a little longer than that, but that was the brief of it. When I got through giving my speech, the whole room stood up and applauded. And I guarantee you, if they hadn't been clapping so loud, you could have heard my knees hitting together. I got weak. It was everything I could do to get down off that stage before I passed out. It just blowed my mind. So I went on back home, and I told my wife at the time, I said, if this does not help, we're getting out. I'm not going to sit here and lose everything fighting this, you know, because I was stressed. I mean, when you're getting, dairy farmers get paid per 100 of pounds of milk. You know, we were getting paid $12 a 100, and it was costing us $1,600 a 100 to produce it. So things were stressed. And so as time went on, we got together with the different states, and there's a couple of states from up north that had done the same thing. So we all met in Corbin, Kentucky, and that's when kind of the truth came out. Because we had been told all these years that the reason we couldn't get good price for our milk was the people from Wisconsin and up north was producing more milk than what we were, and our milk wasn't valuable because we wasn't producing as much. Well, when we met in Corbin, Kentucky with all these northern dairy farmers, come to find out they'd been being told the same thing, that all them southern dairy farmers were producing too much milk. But politics, it's politicians, you know, people higher up the food chain than us dairy farmers. You couldn't, that's when I learned you can't believe in all that. You can't believe in politicians, period, by the way. And they'll tell you what they need to tell you to get your vote, and that's about it. And as I said, I told my wife if all this didn't help, I was going to sell out. Well, next thing we know, there's this big corporation was sweeping down through America buying all the milk plants, not the dairies, the milk plants. And once they acquired them, then they would turn around and tell the dairy farmers, well, we can only give you this amount for your milk. And it just put dairy farmers out of business. They cut the price so low that no dairy farmer could survive. Now, seems like every time I make a video, I'm in an ant bed. But yeah, no dairy farmer could survive, and that's when I finally made my mind I was selling out. I was so stressed, I was getting up at 3 in the morning. Most of the time wasn't getting in bed till 11 o'clock at night. I'd be out there with a spotlight checking my cows. And then if anybody's ever dairy farm, they know morning and evening you're milking. In the middle of the day you're plowing. And I had always preached to all these people in this organization, because dairy farmers back then was big about, you know, getting with the politicians, getting with our governor, getting with this politician, tell them what we need. And I would tell these dairy farmers, look, dairy farmers make up 2% of the population. What's a politician going to listen to? 98% of the population, or 2%? Not a chance. You know, a politician ain't going to help a dairy farmer when they only 2% of the population. But anyway, we did form the association up there in Corbin, Kentucky. And we come back home, and it went on there and went on there. And like I said before, I'm just in my 30s, and everybody kept telling me, you ought to turn this association over to somebody that knows what they're doing. I reckon people thought I should put some more of a political person in charge to run it or something. But I finally, you know, it was taking up a lot of my time from my farm, and I finally said, Okay, I put these people, told them they could take over and handle it. And I went on back to milking cows and farming. And first thing they did is run to the politicians. That's all they wanted to do is run to the politician. They thought that was the cure. Guess what? It didn't cure nothing. And eventually I don't know, the association may be still going, but just dwindled down to nothing. Nobody pays it any attention anymore. And after this big corporation come through and bought up all the milk plants and forced everybody to take a lower price for the milk, we were getting paid $12 per 100 pounds of milk, and it was costing us $16 per 100 pound of milk. That's when I finally decided, let's get out. Uh, I was so stressed that I would come home. I had little kids at the time, and they would be crying or playing and making a lot of noise, and I was so stressed out and angry about what was going on. I'd be like a bear. I'd walk in just yelling and screaming. It wasn't good. And it was all because of stress. And one day I said to myself, you know what? It ain't worth all this. It's not worth my family. And I said, I'm selling out. So the next morning I went to milk, got through milking. My dad come walking up, and I told him, look, they going to the sale. Well, if that's what you want to do. I said, well, that's what I want to do. I'm going to send them to the sale. So I sent them to the auction and sold them. Got a pretty good price for them because I had a good grade of cows. I mean, my herd had a good record as far as milk production and everything. So I got a pretty good price at that time, for what the price of cows were going for at that time. I got a pretty good price for them. Shoot, there was farmers from all over the country heard I was selling, and the auction was full of people. But that pretty much winds it up. A year later, my dad, he sold out. Uh, and dairy was shut down. He turned around and sold the farm to a real estate guy, subdivided it, made a subdivision out of it. Right now, I live about a half a mile up the road from where I grew up at. I got 10 acres left here. I can run a few beef cows on, and got a chicken pen. I still got a little bit of farm equipment left, but the dairy is gone. As is most dairies in this part of the country, they're gone. Unless you're out in somewhere like Texas where you can have a 5,000 cow herd or something, of that nature, you can't hardly survive in the dairy industry anymore. There's a few people around here, they've gone the route of going organic. And well, a lot of them, the ones that went organic, went broke because it cost so much to go organic. But there's a few of them still surviving. A few of them went as far as going organic and actually bottling and selling their own milk. Instead of sending it to a milk plant, they just bottled it and sold it their own milk. But like I say, there's very few. Back when I was in the dairy industry, and the dairy industry was big around here, everybody, all the land there was dairy farms. The towns, not just the town near me, but all the towns in this area were catering to the dairy business, whether it be dairy supplies, dairy equipment, dairy installers, equipment installers, insurance for dairy farmers. I mean, it's all tied into the dairy farm. You can't even find dairy supplies at this time anymore. It's all just gone. Everybody here now, if you want a good job, they go offshore, work out in the Gulf, pumping oil, and even that's drying up now. Uh, so that's the end of the dairy. I still, like I say, we raise a few beef cows, but that ain't the end of my story neither. I never give up. I've been in a lot of businesses since then, but none of them ever seemed to fit like the dairy did. I've tried a lot of things, and I'll be talking about that in future videos. So if any of y'all have a story like this y'all want to share, contact me. We'll tell your story. You might be a better storyteller than I am. But if you like this kind of video, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.